Hey everybody, welcome to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday, July 25th. Andor, a little over a month away. We just want you to know that you should go to StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your Star Wars news that we're going to be talking about today on the show. And with me, as always, is James and Lacey. What's going on, guys? How we doing? I need to get a blue tint. I need a blue tint.
Yeah.
For our audio listeners, James has a nice blue ambiance backlighting, or whatever they call it. And Lacey, with her new things, got the blue light. So I need to get a blue light apparently now to fit in.
John's out.
How
You're supposed to laugh there, John. It's a joke.
Yeah,
it's okay.
We could figure out a way to do it, but you have such a big space behind you, whereas me and Lacey are probably like, I don't know, 5 feet maybe.
Yeah, there's about 5 feet behind me.
Yeah. I feel like you need like the whole room to be.
John would need to like uplight his room like a wedding to get some type of color.
Yeah.
Something. Or you could just switch up the station. Although nobody around here has switched up their station anytime recently.
Huh?
Well, we already went over
obviously
this.
You have, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
You got confused.
Who got confused?
Lacey did.
Everyone is.
Yeah.
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, John. I don't know if you guys saw that at San Diego Comic-Con, they had that Grogu that's like animatronic, that $80,000 Grogu.
That's how much it is?
Yep. They said between $80,000 and $100,000, which I was like, I can't logically even imagine buying this. But it is so cute, and it does like all the little movements. Yeah.
Wait, I don't understand who would buy that. I would expect the one that's in the show to be $80,000.
The one in the show is millions of dollars.
Millions?
Favreau told, what's his name? Adam Pally. He was like, be careful, that thing's worth like millions of dollars, like $3 million.
Man, I don't see how
Who
that
made this?
Is it millions in like R&D or something? Because I feel like
I mean, this thing you could buy, is this a Disney product or does someone else make it?
It's a licensee product. It looks like some type of collector's type company. I didn't have, no one said the company in the videos that I saw. Everyone's like, look at this cool thing, but no company. I'm sure we'll get a name for the company soon, but yeah, no, it's like one of those collector type companies like Anovo or whoever.
Remember when they used to make
Sideshow
action figures that cost $5 that people could buy and kids could play with them?
Speaking of action figures, we did talk about this last week or on Monday. No, last week. The selfie series is actually only $60. I thought it was going to be more expensive. That's not that bad.
That's the beauty of all this. They're like, here's your $7,000 2-day hotel. Here's your $5,000 drink at a cruise. Here's your $80,000 animatronic Baby Yoda. So then, when they hit you with the $60 action figure, you're like, what a deal! What a deal! Jeez. Well, I'll probably get one anyway, though.
I mean, we'll see. Tony Hawk's Underground or whatever video game was $60, and I could upload my face to that.
I think you could buy Tony Hawk for $60 at this point. Yeah.
Tony Hawk is still a big celebrity. He doesn't drop off.
Maybe he's on Cameo for like $60, maybe.
Yeah, my favorite thing, speaking of Tony Hawk, my favorite thing about him that I heard recently is that Maya Hawke, who's from Stranger Things, that's Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke's daughter, puts that she's Tony Hawk's daughter in her bio on Instagram.
That's very good. That's very good. Also, did you know that I tweeted this and a lot of people were like blown away by this, but Chrissy, the cheerleader who dies, spoiler alert, first episode.
Oh my gosh, spoiling again.
It came out in like June. Who cares?
John, you have got to stop.
It came out like 2 months ago.
It doesn't matter. It's like the most popular show. People, if they haven't gotten around to it, they're still going to watch it.
Oh, get out of here. So we can talk about spoilers for Mandalorian. Hold on, James. We're allowed to talk about spoilers, which we do on this show 3 days after it comes out. Actually, nay, the night it comes out. But 2 months later, for a show that this podcast is not even about, I can't talk about it.
We do give a warning.
I actually think there's a difference. Yeah, I actually do think there's a difference between the fact that people who listen to our show absolutely are watching that show that night. And they know that the discussion for the show is that episode, whereas you just dropped it completely randomly.
If
so there was
you
no
haven't watched
warning.
that show in 2 months, the most popular show on the planet, it's your fault. I'm sorry. You're not. No one's that busy.
This is
apologies
John
whatsoever.
Backed into a corner, knowing he messed up, and he's just going to stand corner. He's just trying.
Anyway,
not
she is the daughter of Casper Van Dien, the guy from Starship Troopers. Did you know that?
All of that.
For that fact. Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, she dies in the first episode of Stranger Things season 4.
Hope that was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. For all the people out there who are so excited about this show, they were too busy to watch it in the last 2 months.
I mean, some people do have other things going on, but anyway. Digress.
Unbelievable. All right.
At least I finally got to go on Rise of the Resistance, even though John spoiled that too.
That's again ridiculous. People don't even know what spoilers are anymore. Get out of here.
I do. I got spoiled.
Would you call a spoiler telling people that a character dies in a show that they haven't watched yet?
If it was a character that has no impact on the plot of the show, no. Like if Mythrol died in the first episode of Mandalorian season 1 and people are like, Horatio Sands dies in Mandalorian episode 1, I'd be like, I don't care.
John is 2 for 2 with Stranger Things deaths of it saying it out loud.
I spoiled a big thing for you on accident, and we've gone over this. Yeah, and you're gonna drag me over the coals about it for the rest of my damn life. All right, let's spoil some more stuff. James, let's talk some Andor news.
It's the Resistance.
All right, Resistance report this week. We got some Andor news, as John was saying. First of which is an Andor TV spot. Now, the TV spot, before we get into this, getting a little weird, right? Are these showing up on TV? Because I'm only ever seeing them like Instagram posts kind of thing.
Yeah, I saw it during the MLB All-Star stuff on TV and ESPN.
Okay, because I also, when I see it, when I go to it, it's always in like square format. And I'm like, where's the real post? You know, where's this being posted? But you did see it on television. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So there's not really a whole lot to talk about. There's a couple extra scenes in this thing, a little bit more than the trailer. It feels like the trailer if you haven't seen it. Just a couple little new things, new shots here and there. I think the big news coming out of this is just the fact that TV spots are starting to happen now. So be prepared for more footage as we go along. Start with you, Lacey, on this one. What were your thoughts on the TV spot, or the fact that we're at that point in Andor's marketing plan?
So it's exciting to see TV spots because it means that it's so much closer. I think that's the first thing that you're like, yes, it's happening. The second thing that I initially noticed is that about 5 seconds, they do this like voiceover with Andor, Cassian Andor, and it's weird because it switches from him sounding like he's talking over a radio to then talking directly to the camera. They did some type of distorting with his voice from 3 seconds to 5 seconds, and it's very noticeable that they were like, he's over a radio. No, wait, he's actually talking to the camera. So if you guys have a second to go back and listen to that, definitely do, and let me know what you think, because it was very jarring when I was trying to watch it before we did the show. The other thing, there's so many awesome like scenes in this show already that you can tell it's not just the volume. And regardless of the story, I'm the most excited about that we're going to be outside in the actual landscape in the world that we live in. And yes, of course, we're going to get some CG and we're going to get some volume type, probably situations and scenery and sets, but man, I am so pumped to see something that I'm like, oh, that looks like England. Hooray. I'm excited to see that. It is a little weird though to see Cassian now because he does look older. Do you guys think that? Do you think he looks older? Because I think he looks a little older.
I'm apparently not very good at noticing age like that because the Anakin stuff doesn't bother me. The Qui-Gon stuff didn't bother me. I was like, yep, they're
I want
wearing
to
the
be clear.
wig.
It doesn't
Looks right to
bother me. It's just very noticeable that he's older.
Yeah, so I shouldn't say the word bother. I'm saying, like when you say like I can't be bothered kind of thing. That's what I mean. Like I just don't see it. I see the costume and the character in the face, and I just go like, yep, that's them at that age. Like I'm almost won over by the cosplay of it or whatever.
That's fair.
I think some people look older with a beard, and some people, depending on what age they are when they have a beard, look younger with it. I think he looked younger when he had... Exactly. I think he looks younger when he has a beard. And I think in those shots of him without a beard, he looks older for some reason.
Really? I think he looks... Wait, hold on. I need to reevaluate that.
I think I'm agreeing with you.
He does look younger with the beard.
Yeah, right?
Weird.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, totally. Yeah,
like, and you know when I first noticed that was Keanu Reeves. Spoiler alert, they made another Bill and Ted movie. And for the first time in years, we've seen Keanu Reeves without a beard. Yeah. And he looked noticeably older without it. In that new Bill and Ted movie.
He did in The Matrix too.
And that made me realize, like, some people, like, when they have a beard, like Harrison Ford in The Fugitive, it just makes them look older. But some people that have a beard makes them look younger. And I think Diego Luna is one of those. So I agree with you here, Lacey. I think it's not that startling. I'm disagreeing with James on the Kenobi stuff. I think that was... I think they really... It was either just budget or they were... I don't know. I don't want to say they were lazy. But...
I mean, Hayden looked great. He looked young, but not as young as a 20-something.
That's what I'm saying. People I think people were so used to seeing him on the press tour that they're like, that's Hayden Christensen. But if you look at him in Attack of the Clones, he looks like a kid.
I don't look the same I did when I was 22. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like they could have went the extra mile and done it. They just didn't do it. And whatever. Qui-Gon looked old too.
Qui-Gon looked not as bad. Really old.
He looked like really old, but that's not as bad to me. I feel like the Anakin thing, it would have made, in my opinion, because I like being, suspension of disbelief and being lost in the story.
Sure.
It took me out a little bit seeing a 40-year-old Hayden Christensen trying to be
especially because he had the Padawan braid. I think what would have worked better for that in particular, I know we're talking about Andor, but if the Hayden thing, what would have worked better is if he had the longer hair. If they went to a scene where he was like prior Revenge of the Sith, where he had the longer hair, that it wasn't the braid. Because when I see the braid, it's even younger Hayden Christensen. Yeah.
Because when they first show him from behind, and you're like, oh my God, they did it. They did it. And then he turns around, and you're like, oh, it's him. It's him now. But and I still like it. I'm not like saying like, oh my God, I can't believe. But I'm just surprised, Lucasfilm, ILM, like the kings of kings and queens of special effects, we're just like, it's all right.
The other thing I did notice about this trailer is that Cassian's costume looks very Beckett to me. When I looked at it, I was like, this looks
trench
very
coat.
Like just the colors, the textures, the cuts of the coat and everything else. Like obviously he has the holster that goes like up across the leg and then down and everything. It just looked very Beckett to me. And I think the costumes that I'm the most excited to see are Mon Mothma's, because hers are just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of just like rebellion / empire, and it's like gray, brown.
Yeah. I think like this TV spot, I have a hard time, you guys know this, with like recognition for trailers for some reason. Like when we do those reactions and like I'm like, I forgot that when you bring up a point. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. I'm so like, it just goes by me so quick that I don't recall like, oh, that is new, like from the original trailer watch and stuff like that. Like comparing the TV spot and the trailer, I had a hard time. But in seeing this, like it does feel very noir in like the music they used, and also like that whole like, another brick in the wall mentality where you see these people just sort of like, it feels like they're just walking all in like white suits. It's almost like THX 1138, the original George Lucas movie. Like people under control of the empire, those like big, heavy, totalitarian living under the rule of one sort of mentality. And I like that they're giving us that because it's going to make the rebellion feel that much more important. So I think that's cool. I'm really curious because usually the trailers don't match the actual music that's going to be in this stuff. Like, remember the solo trailers and a lot of stuff that we've seen. But I'm curious who's going to be scoring this, because I doubt if it was Michael Giacchino, we probably would have already been told that. I just wonder if they're going to stick with similar themes and stuff that they used for that movie and bring it back in the past. I'm really curious the type of music they're going to use for this show, because I think we all have a pretty good idea at this point of what it's going to be like aesthetically. Lacey, you brought up all the real sets, which I'm really excited about.
That's the thing I'm most excited for. Sets and costumes, I think.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that, and feeling like we are outside and we're not claustrophobic and that sort of thing. I'm excited for that. We know this kind of pretty much the story and the journey we're going to be going on without the finer details. I really want to know what this is going to sound like from a musical perspective, because as we know, Star Wars really gets elevated to certain different heights and emotions based on the music. So I'm really, like, we're close. We're a little over a month away. I'm curious to see who they say, came in and did the score yet, because I don't think we've heard, right?
Nicholas Britell?
I didn't know that they revealed that. Okay. Interesting.
Moonlight, If Beale Street Could Talk, Succession.
Oh, yes. Right. Okay.
You remember?
Because you love Succession. Yeah.
Yeah, because we talked about the Succession theme. I was
okay.
You were saying that, and I was like, I thought we did talk about who the composer was at one point, but you're right, I couldn't remember who it was. And even hearing the name, I don't know that I would have went straight to Succession. But
we haven't heard any, unless there is stuff in these clips from the show, we haven't heard anything released from this yet, right? Nothing has come out, new music from Andor.
They were kind of letting Obi-Wan Kenobi have its moment.
Yeah, not unless the music from the trailer, like the main trailer, is the music that you're hearing, and that's just sneaky under the radar. Like, they didn't say, here's your first, because if you remember, they did do that. They were like, here's the Andor stuff, and they showed us, and then they were like, and now the first time ever being played is just, but it's like, you just did that for Andor. You just dropped it out of nowhere. So I don't think that was the theme. I don't think we've gotten anything. I'm assuming this is just trailer music.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I'm really curious to hear what we get, because as we talked with Natalie Holt, and we learned why a lot of the music choices were made for Obi-Wan had to do with permissions and, battles between her ideas and Kathleen Kennedy. I'm curious to see now, because we may be expecting a big Rogue One type score on this, and maybe it's something more intimate, something more with spy tendencies to it, because it's that type of show. So I'm really, really curious to learn more about that now that we're understanding a lot of the other stuff that's coming at us from the show.
Yeah, nothing too particular out of the TV spot from me. I think one thing that you guys didn't mention is you're talking about the costumes and stuff. One thing is just the cinematography in general. To me, it seems like it has kind of stepped up a little bit in the sense of not necessarily more than Mandalorian. Sorry, I was mixing the two there. Mandor, kind of like that.
I like that too.
But there's that shot that's been since the trailer, but it's included in this too, of the elevator coming down Coruscant. And I'm like, that's an angle of Coruscant that I don't feel like we've ever gotten before. The planet there has always been horizontal or kind of slightly tilted down or up. We've never really gotten this spinning down vertical or anything crazy in that planet type before, or in that place. So seeing that shot makes me think there's a little bit of a not independent film, but a unique perspective on Star Wars. They're going a direction that Star Wars hasn't gone, and it feels kind of like a new director is taking over and not just mimicking George Lucas or any of the early stuff.
Do you guys think this is another one of those situations where we get a lot of the stuff we're seeing in the first episode or two? Or do you think Gilroy doesn't roll that way and he's just I just want a good trailer, so cut me a good trailer?
I think this is the first time that we're getting stuff that is throughout the season, and unless of course those shots where you're behind the person and they're flashing through all the different planets are not in the show at all. And those are, in typical Rogue One style, stuff that they shot for the trailer that isn't actually in the show, because it works really well when you're back to back to back to back. But like if you pieced all those planets together over the series, that backward shot might not connect the same way. And if you tried to take all of those shots and put them in the first episode or first few episodes, it would feel like you're just skipping around too much. Like I think
especially
we need to
all
land
those
on a couple.
characters are new people that we haven't met yet.
I'm getting the feeling that since they put it in the block thing, that we might see like 3 episodes on this planet, and then we move 3 episodes on this planet, move 3 episodes on this planet kind of thing. And what they're showing us in that by skipping from here to here to here is like, this is the series you're going to get. And it's showing us all throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a guess. That being said, though, let's talk a little bit more about those costumes because this week at San Diego, or I should say last week at San Diego Comic-Con, we got some... What are these called, Lacey? What would you say these?
It's an exhibit.
An exhibit, a costume exhibit for the series?
But it's only 2 costumes and a prop, basically.
Yeah, was it
it's
3
Cassian, Mon Mothma, and then B2 Emo.
Okay, yeah. I thought maybe there was a 4th one in there, just off the top of my head. But yeah, we've seen these before at other like press conferences and some.
They did the Sith
cases.
Trooper for San Diego Comic-Con going into Rise of Skywalker, and they've done Solo exhibit where they had. I was there that year. They did all the costumes for Solo, like Enfys Nest, Beckett, but they had them so up high. They were on top of a storage container, and you like couldn't see them. Like at least here, they're like down at kind of eye level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And with the costumes, if you want to take a look at them up close, you can also see that there's these little banners next to them that have not only the show logo, but a little bit of information on the character that you're looking at. So we learned a little bit about some of the planets that we're going to be going to, a little bit about the droid, and how he's been in the Andor family for a long time, servicing them. And a little bit about how Mon Mothma has been trying to start a rebellion amongst her job on Coruscant. So not that we didn't already know that one, but you know, it's nice to see it again. It's like, yep, that's the role. That's the show we're getting ready to watch. John, what were your thoughts on the costumes and the snippets of information?
Yeah, the costumes are really cool. I don't know that I've had a full grasp on Mon Mothma's like journey as a character, beyond, you know, what we knew from original trilogy and stuff like that. I don't know that I knew that she was an Imperial senator, to be honest with you, or I just had forgotten about it. But that she's from Chandrilla is cool. But the fact that, you know, we're getting Coruscant in this series, which is really key because, you know, we had that very brief flashback to it in Rogue One, where they're all sort of like celebrating. It feels a little decadent, and they're, you know, it's Galen Erso there amongst others, including Orson Krennic, and, you know, Jin's sort of there trying to observe what's going on, and we're like, wow, you know, it's pretty cool seeing Coruscant again, but outside of the prequels, and maybe we're gonna get to see quite a bit of it here, to the point where it's like you were saying, James, different perspectives on this planet. And I like that sort of thing, because some people like to separate the trilogies like in a very concrete sense, where it's like, well, that's over there, you know, that's the prequels, that was George Lucas's movies, and they're over there. But the more they're weaving things across, like seeing the N1 starfighter come back, a banged up N1 starfighter in the Book of Boba Fett for Mando, I think that's so cool. And now having a chance to revisit Coruscant, maybe from a different perspective, I really like that a lot. Like, what is that planet like today, knowing that Palpatine's headquarters were in a certain part of that planet? Has that planet changed quite a bit under the Empire? What does it look like now compared to when things were, you know, good during the Republic? So that really interests me quite a bit. Her costumes look very elegant, and I like the fact that she's no longer just wearing a white sheet over her body. So that's pretty cool. Because I think when they had her cameo in Revenge of the Sith, which eventually was cut, she was wearing like the same exact outfit she was wearing in like Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I was gonna jump in. I less interested than the costume on display here, which is also like a white outfit. When I saw her in the trailer in the orange outfit, I was like, that's cool. Like, I'm excited to see Mon Mothma not wearing white, because for some reason, whether it's Ben George or anybody else who brings them into their series, whether she's like in Rebels or whatever, they always stick her in white. And I don't necessarily know why she does that, other than maybe at a certain point, she only wears white because that's part of like the symbol that she's trying to become. But now that we're before that, I really like the idea of her wearing different outfits.
And, Lacey brought up with the TV spot, seeing Cassian in sort of like that long trench coat. He has a similar sort of belt like Han Solo does. And something like went off in my head because it's this brown trench coat. And I'll never forget seeing the concept art, obviously unused, for The Force Awakens. Han Solo was originally going to have a long brown trench coat style in The Force Awakens, and they nixed it for something so that maybe he can move more and, who knows what. But we know how they like to keep ideas around and reuse them. And so maybe they're like, oh, remember that look we had for Han for TFA? That might work here for Cassian for this reason, this reason, this reason. And when I look at that stand and the sort of Han Solo looking belt with the angle down to the side, there's a blaster in there somewhere. This, and the blue pants reminds me a bit of Han from A New Hope. So, and he's got his boots and stuff. This is like sort of a little bit Han Solo-ish, mixed old Han with the concept art they didn't end up using for TFA. So I think it's a cool look. And I love that we're hearing about this, new planet that no one knows anything about. I even tried to look on Wikipedia, and all it says is, here's the planet. It was debuted at San Diego Comic-Con, and Wikipedia always knows that stuff. So even this thing could have been mentioned in a flip book, and they would have known it. So we are getting a new planet with no baggage. That's exciting to me. I'm curious what location they use for that, because as we went over the past year, knowing how many locations they went to the point where we were laughing about it every week, which one is this, new planet going to be? So I'm really excited about that. And I believe the planet is called Aldani.
Aldani,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, I dig this stuff. But I got to say, I'm a little like, they probably had this stuff already.
They definitely did. It's the same exact costumes they used in Vanity Fair.
They couldn't give it to it at Star Wars Celebration. You know what I mean?
Well, they had the Mando exhibits that you had to pick and choose
that's a good point.
your choices.
Yeah,
But these are the exact costumes that Diego Luna and Genevieve O'Reilly wore in Vanity Fair. So they probably already had them like in a box. Yeah. The interesting thing that you did say that I was going to note, John, is the Han Solo callback to TFA is definitely there. You can see it. Oh, you
noticed that too, huh?
Yeah, and the other thing too is B2 Emo is an early sketch of BB-8. Looked like that.
Oh, really?
So Neil Scanlon, did B2 EMO. Is it emo or EMO? Do you know yet?
I don't know. I hadn't heard it out loud until you said it, but B2 emo is so funny because
Isn't
it's
it
like,
funny? It has to be that.
You can't be too emo. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like that's what it is, because his description is an old, weary ground mech salvage droid. So I feel like it is B2 emo.
Yeah. But you can call him B though.
So if you look at the top, like the two kind of eye parts, it looks like BB-8. Like the early renditions of BB-8, they had square versions and all the different types of stuff. And it's done by Neil Scanlon, which is awesome. He stood out to me because, again, the other two costumes came from Vanity Fair. But I just loved that we learned that he's from the Andor family. Like, so that means we're probably going to see Cassian's parents, which is always exciting to see characters' parents in Star Wars.
I thought that, but I had forgotten it. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because I was like, wait a minute, he's been in this fight since he was 6. You're assuming he's been orphaned or something, but it's like, not necessarily. Like, his family could be substantial on that planet and the community leader or something. Yeah.
The class of the droid is Rescue Assistance Unit.
Yeah, I do get a little nervous though, because we've never seen this droid before, so this guy's probably gonna not make it. And it makes me sad, because it's like, that's where I'm living in Star Wars now, is I'm like, okay, who's gonna live? Oh, everyone dies. Great. Fun. This is fun.
Like Lola, probably.
Yeah, Lola.
Yeah, but Lola didn't die. You know what I mean?
Not yet. I did like seeing that Mon Mothma's French from Chandrila because, of course, Ben Solo was born there. So you see the call out and you're like, yay, love that planet.
I mean, the call out was when Ben was born there. Chandrila's been a planet for a long time.
No, I know, but I'm saying that's what I know that planet from.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, this is exciting. You know, I kind of wish we saw more costumes that we haven't seen yet. Like some brand new character. There's been rumblings of Hasbro announcing figures for Andor that have new characters that haven't been announced yet. So I am a big fan of these costume exhibits that they do at comic conventions. I helped with some. They're just really, really cool. And there's so much time and detail that goes into these costumes that you don't really notice until you're standing in front of it. So I just kind of wish we did get, like James said, that beautiful orange outfit she wears. Like, I would have loved to seen that up close because we did get this white one already. And now, of course, I'm just being picky, like as a Star Wars fan, but it's just exciting.
I'm going to say something
really
similar
exciting
here in a second.
Well, go for it.
One of the real cool things I just have to say with these exhibits is if you don't get a chance to like meet actors or pay for the autographs and stuff, one thing you do get, which is something that's very real, when you see someone on TV or the movies, you don't really understand like their size in life, like if they're short, tall, or stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But when you see these costumes, you're like, holy cow, I didn't realize blank was so tall or so short or whatever. And I remember seeing the Leia costumes at the Power of Costume exhibit in New York and not really grasping the fact that how tiny Carrie Fisher was.
Alden's tiny.
So, yeah, right. So that's another
Amelia
cool
Clark's
aspect
tiny.
for people. Yeah, if you get a chance.
They should bring in like Kevin Hart into Star Wars so that everybody does realize how
they understand it completely.
they just get
Dryden
it right
Voss,
where they see him.
not tiny, very tall.
Oh yeah. The thing I was going to say here is, yes, I would have liked to see the orange outfit. I agree with you there, but I also would like to see, Skarsgård, his outfit too, because it worries me a little bit that if his outfit was not on display, that he might not be in this show as much as I hope he is. That he might.
I think they chose these honestly because they've already shown him.
They've already shown Skarsgård too. I mean, he was not only in the press release, but he's in the commercial, and he's standing there on that cliff, and he's got this awesome jacket that has the giant up collar, kind of like the Blade Runner jacket.
You're right.
And I'm like, dude, that's a good way to win over a lot of people. That the long jacket with a big collar, and the same goes for Cassian's outfit here. I'm just such a sucker for like a giant scarf. Nobody can wear a giant scarf in real life except for what's his name?
Star Wars characters.
Snoopy.
Shoot, the singer
Russell Brand.
No, I don't think it's Russell Brand.
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, not like quite like a poncho. But, I'm blanking on the person's name, but Lenny Kravitz. Look up Lenny Kravitz big scarf. And
Russell Brand dresses
ridiculous.
just like Lenny Kravitz, so I was on par.
But pulling off this giant scarf, like people don't normally wear that, but every time I see it like in a show like this, I'm immediately like, holy crap, that looks so awesome. Like it's kind of like one of those memes where it's like what girls think guys want to dress like or something, or what guys actually want to dress like. It's always like Han Solo or something. All right.
Well, James, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel like I've been wrong a bunch already on this episode today, but I think Stellan Skarsgård is the one who like broke the news that they're filming season 2 this fall, which makes me think he's in it.
Oh,
so I think
that's a good point.
I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be okay. Now, at least until season 2, then.
I bet these are costumes they used in the beginning of the episode, and they don't use them again.
But I wasn't implying that he dies. I was implying that he's just
We're used to that around here.
Yeah. I'm just saying that he might not be in the show as, like, I'm thinking there's like 3 main characters of this show, but it seems because of this and a couple other things that there might only be 2. They might just be leaning on those 2 because he wasn't in Vanity Fair either. But he's in the trailer, and has a line and everything. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, and he's a big actor. I would think that he would be one of the main things, but maybe they're just marketing him at a little bit and he's not actually in the show that much. Not that he dies, he's just not in it that much. If that makes sense. Like Moff Gideon, like
yeah,
you know, like you can say Giancarlo Esposito is in the show, but he doesn't show up until the last 2 episodes. So it's like, oh, he's not in it that much, kind of thing.
Right. And in our chat, Lacey, it's not in the notes, but in our chat before we recorded, Lacey sent that still that of Adria Arjona from Andor.
Oh, I love her braids. Love the braids. Dead. Is that why you said dead?
Yeah, that's what.
100%. She's not making it out of the show.
We talked about this
I said
a long
that, like,
time
when
ago.
they announced her.
Yeah,
I was like, she's
whoever
gonna
the
be a
love
love interest, and then she's gonna die.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about love interest. Maybe man, they bring these people into these shows that predate stuff, and you're just like, it's over.
I love her braids though.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, people can live and just not be in the movies. Like,
no, I know.
You know, we point to, I know, like
Reva
Ahsoka maybe was away or whatever, but like Hera, for instance, very clearly still in the rebellion. Just she wasn't involved with Han and Luke, you know, and Leia. Like, so
selfish.
All right, let's move on to this next thing here, and it has to do with the show Skeleton Crew that we're getting. If you haven't checked this out or know much about it, the show is going to be part of the like Mandalorian universe. It's going to be kind of a Goonies type show. They say it's still for adults, but it does star for kids, as well as Jude Law as the adult character, although we don't know if that character is good or bad. So that's kind of interesting. The point to take away from the story this week is that it apparently will have a budget of $136 million for the show, putting it like as one of the most expensive shows ever made, shortly under like Stranger Things and of course The Rings of Power, which is like #1 right now. But that is a big budget for a show that we don't really know a whole lot about, but it starts to paint it in a good light. Budget doesn't mean anything, but it shows that they're not just going to throw this thing together. Lacey, what are your thoughts on Skeleton Crew? A little bit of information on it, specifically about the budget.
Well, my first thought is if Disney could give me a budget of $136 million, I would do pretty amazing things with it. You know,
like?
As in nothing. I would disappear and go on a vacation for the rest of my life.
There we go.
No, but it's exciting. You know, it's always funny to me, and we talk about this on the show a lot, like box office numbers and like budgets and stuff. It's like, how does this truly affect me as a Star Wars fan? Does it make me excited because it means that they're allowed to get better, you know, talent or special effects or sets or production? Sure. But other than that, it could be due to inflation. It could be due to rising costs with unions. It could be a bunch of travel, location scouting. Like, you don't know where this budget breaks down that it costs that much money. Now, I do think that visual effects people should be paid every single dime that they deserve. So I hope that's why this budget is so large, that if they are doing special effects, those people are getting paid what they deserve to get paid, which we know is an issue in Hollywood. But other than that, like, again, we don't know much about it. I just remember laughing kind of at Celebration when they announced it, because it had somewhat leaked the week before that it was happening. Then they brought John Watts out, and then they're like, okay, and Jude Law. And you're like,
oh, yeah,
right.
This is Grammar Rodeo.
Yeah, Grammar. Yeah. Yeah, so it's just kind of interesting because it feels like, once again, this is one of those things that's jumping onto the Stranger Things vibe, nostalgia, kids. I feel like everybody's going for that right now because Stranger Things is such a big franchise fandom piece. Like, it's in pop culture now, Stranger Things, and everybody, it was like Baby Yoda before Baby Yoda, right? So I just don't know. I don't know if I'm like super excited that it has so much money, because you could throw tons of money at something, it could be terrible. So I get worried when people are like, oh, it has to be awesome with this much money. I'm going to think that it's awesome because you have a team of people that really, really are passionate about this. And Jon Favreau is all about it. And John Watts gave up Spider-Man for this. So it has to be something, or Fantastic Four. Sorry, I misspoke. Fantastic Four for this. So it has to be something really, really cool. So that's why I'm going to stand by it, that I think this is going to be awesome. I love Jude Law. I love The Holiday. Fun fact, it's like one of my favorite movies with Jude Law. Definitely see it. But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. But I mean, money to me is just like, okay, money, you know, Disney has a lot of it.
I mean, 136 million, if you want to consider this, Rob Zombie's Monsters reboot has 40 million in it.
Well,
So it's like
136 million, ready? Tom Cruise is getting paid 100 mil for Top Gun Maverick. So
but that's
still has
enough.
36 million left over to pay for Tom Cruise.
He can't make religious donations with that, can he?
Oh, jeez.
John, any thoughts on 136 million going towards Skeleton Crew?
I can't even smack around
136
Scientology.
million.
Nothing. Everything is sacred. Here's the thing: 136 million, a lot of money for a TV show, but we don't know how many episodes this thing is. So it could be 6, could be 12. Then you're talking about that's a lot of budget per episode, or maybe not as much as The Mandalorian. So it really comes down to how many episodes this is to really determine what the deal is. Also, if they haven't filmed yet, budget really doesn't mean anything, because a lot of projects go over budget. So that's another factor to take into consideration. But Lacey brought up a good point. Inflation is definitely a thing. And supply chain, lumber, the cost of lumber. If they're building sets for this show and it's not all volume based, like that stuff adds up when you're talking about building these movie sets. And I'm not, a movie expert in terms of productions, but just you put 2 and 2 together and you're like, yeah, that cost is going to be driven up. So I'm not too, one way or the other on this number, because it's so early that it really doesn't matter. I'm even surprised that the Hollywood Reporter put this out, because unless they were had concrete info on the amount of episodes, then you could really talk about, wow, that's 30 million per episode. That's big time or something.
I was kind of confused by that a little bit, because it seems like when people talk about how expensive a show is, they do kind of do a per episode budget. Yeah. Which was a little bit of a breakdown here, but do they not also just look at how much was spent on a single season of television? Because that's how, to me, Rings of Power was presented, is they're putting, I think it was 100 or 200 million or something like that into the first season. So it didn't even matter how many episodes they were doing. The record was that no season of a show had ever put that much into it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But then I also take into consideration, when I think about Kenobi, I'm like, it seems pretty clear to me, at least from a visual effects budget perspective, that they put a lot of their chips into the final episode compared to some of the earlier episodes. So yeah, I agree. This show, Game of Thrones season blank cost 250 million. But I like to, get down into the more specifics, I guess, after the fact, because, there could be reshoots, there could be delays. Look what COVID did, to a lot of things, which is funny because this is called Skeleton Crew, and Skeleton Crews are what they had to do for a lot of shoots during COVID, is that to bring
basically what you saw in Book of Boba Fett, where it was a small crew standing 20 feet away
and they
from
also
the
do
actors.
that for the spoiler stuff. They try to keep, tight crews and stuff like that. So I wonder what that means for this. Are these kids a set group to protect a certain thing? Because that's also, I guess I tried to look up Skeleton Crew alternate definitions, and one could be for emergencies, not just anything standard.
It seemed to me like they got abandoned, or for some reason most of the adults died or something. Kind of like in Obi-Wan, we saw the Padawans running around. It's because all the knights had been killed.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it actually, really, based on the artwork, to me, it felt very E.T. to me.
Yeah.
And which predates all the Stranger Things stuff, and we hear that a lot, like Stranger Things did this or whatever. But it's I feel like these types of movies have been around forever. Before Stranger Things,
I would say Goonies did it first.
Goonies.
Yeah, I mean, Goonies is a good example, but so is anytime you want to say a Harry Potter or Twilight or something like that, when you're getting a group of kids together to be your main protagonist, it's always going to get kind of boxed into that area. But to me, it did feel it feels like a show that could be really like fresh in the sense that like it takes place in Star Wars, but since it has to do with like a crash ship on a planet and they're like trying to fix the ship and get off, and they're probably being like, it's like nighttime or dark and they're like using flashlights and stuff, and like the woods can be scary, you know, and I'm just
sounds like Lost in Space, to be honest.
Yeah, sort of. But I mean, like, we've never gotten that in Star Wars. Like, we've never gotten a like predominantly dark show that has horror vibes like that.
I don't know what the vibe is going to be. John Watts, obviously, his biggest successes
totally
has
basing
to
it
do
on
with,
the artwork, and that's it. You know.
Yeah, his biggest successes have to do with Spider-Man and telling the story of coming of age teenagers and, you know, learning to cope with something way bigger than you could ever imagine. So we'll see if that plays a part into why they brought him in. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, you know, the Jude Law thing. It made me think like him with, you know, kids lost in this big world, big galaxy. It made me think of that Spielberg movie AI that he was in.
Oh my gosh, that was so bad. He turned down Harry Potter for that.
It was a bad movie. The first half, I was like, all right. But then when I realized it was like Pinocchio, spoiler alert, movie came out 21 years ago.
How many times is John going to say spoiler alert?
Yeah,
at least 6 more times.
Stop
yeah,
talking about it.
Yeah. But he played this guy who was helping this kid, and they were both robots, like make his way through, like survive through the world. So I wonder if that's something they honed in on, because that was Spielberg, and this is sort of has that Spielberg vibe to it about. You know,
I hated that movie so bad. You just brought it up, and like I sunk into that like depressed feeling I felt at the end of that movie, that I was like, this movie
terrible.
sucks.
Yeah, right. But the character
Anybody else
did
have that feeling with movies?
Yeah.
I never saw it, but it's John Williams' score, right? Is the music good?
I think so.
I don't know.
But my main thing is not that the movie was good or anything, but it's Jude Law sort of playing, and he played a robot, so who knows if he's playing a human in this or a robot or a droid or whatever.
Poor Haley
But
Joel
it's
Osment.
sort
Like
of
he
this-
went from Sixth Sense to that, and then just totally just
Who?
Haley Joel Osment.
Oh yeah, but he plays this sort of, you know, mysterious guy who's helping this kid on this like journey of self-discovery and trying to survive out in the world and stuff. So maybe that's the type of thing they're going to tap into here. I'm
I
not
thought he's
saying
gonna be
it's
a
going to
villain.
be bad like AI or anything like that, but who knows?
I think he's
I'm
gonna
leaning
be the
towards
villain.
he's like their mentor or their helper or something, but that's just a complete guess.
I wonder if he could be like the voice on the ship or something dumb.
Oh yeah, that could be cool. I'd actually like that.
Like he's like, and then like when they leave the ship, they could put him like in the hologram thing or something, and it kind of gums along with them on the journey.
Like a Jarvis.
Yeah, basically, and it's like, you'll need to refresh the ship with my with this precious gem on the planet. You have to go find it. So I don't know, but I mean, like he's in the show, so it doesn't seem like it would be like a voice thing, you know. But whatever,
Yeah.
It could be cool. One last thing that we should talk about. Well, I wouldn't say one last thing, but I kind of wanted to see what you guys had to say about John Boyega and his thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi. John, any quick thoughts on his statement?
I know Boyega was always a Star Wars fan before he got into Star Wars, so I like the fact that he's still a fan and he's still engaged and following it. I don't know. I would have to guess, but I can imagine there's other people a part of that cast that aren't that way. So I think it is cool that he's still sort of in the mix in that regard, and hearing him
Daisy
speak on
watches
it.
Mando too.
Yeah. But hearing him speak on that in this regard as a fan, it feels good. Because, you know, he went through a lot of hell that a lot of people just skim over during his time with Star Wars. And hearing him praise the Ewan and Hayden, I thought was really cool too, because then again, you know, we're bridging gaps between prequel trilogy and sequel trilogy, and there's probably a common bond there because the prequels received so much hate back in the day and are now getting a more well-aged recognition, and maybe Boyega's sort of seeing that light at the end of the tunnel for them. While I think we really like the sequel trilogy, and I think a lot of the general public do. There was certainly a section of fans that, you know, threw fire at it and that sort of stuff. So maybe he's seeing these guys get their turn, and maybe he's thinking like, you know, maybe one day I get to come back and and do some older Finn stuff and get that, Hayden reaction. Not that he ever really got bad reactions from fans at public things, but I got to think that crosses his mind a little bit. I don't know about you guys.
Sure. Lacey, any thoughts?
I'm just excited to hear from John Boyega again. I feel like rightfully so, he took a break and was just kind of like, hey, I'm doing other things. And he's openly said that he's trying to show how many different roles he can play, which is good on him. Like, live your life, do what you want to do. I do miss him being in Star Wars. I miss doing, watching press tours with him in them, him talking about being a part of Star Wars. So I really do hope that he comes back eventually. And stuff like this, when he's talking about the positive experience he has as a fan, watching the new content, makes me hopeful that if they came to him and approached him about a new movie or a new series or something, he would say yes. That's what I get out of this. So fingers crossed.
I think that's probably the most interesting aspect of this is like his comments from a long time ago where he's like, you're not going to Disney Plus me. I just really would like to see like what a follow-up on that is. Like if somebody for any interview would be like, you said before Disney Plus launched that you wouldn't want to be a part of this. Has your mind changed? Would you be interested? And I'm sure his answer would be similar to this or what he said before, like, well, if Kathy and JJ were involved, if they want to do something like that. But
it's
I mean,
funny. He always says Kathy and JJ.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because like you were saying, so much has changed about Disney Plus and what the Marvel shows look like and all this. Like the game on Disney Plus and like television is different now. So I'm interested in what his thoughts would be on that. But it's good to know that he like is at least watching it and considering it like real Star Wars, like he could be looking down on it and saying like, oh, that's television, that's Star Wars, they're calling it that, it's animation or whatever. But like it seems like he's considering the live action content real Star Wars. So yeah, it's good.
He's coming back one day. That guy wants his own lightsaber. You know it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, couple quick things too. If you are at all interested in the young Obi-Wan Kenobi novel, Star Wars Padawan, it's going to be coming out the end of this month, July 26th.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Man, that is sooner than I thought. Dealing with Obi-Wan getting separated from Qui-Gon and thinking about, does he really need to be a Jedi? Did he take the right steps? Kind of cool little story if you want to check it out. Also, we got a little bit of a confirmation from Carl Weathers that Rick Famuyiwa directed at least 2 episodes of The Mandalorian Season 3. We knew he was back. We knew he got a promotion, right? But you gotta know, you gotta trust Carl when he is dropping bombs left and right, because he's a good source of true, like, leaked or like new information that he's been accurate like every time he says it. So he does not care, and so he dropped this one. Actually, it's an older interview that just surfaced, but yeah, Rick Famuyiwa coming back. That's pretty cool. And the other thing too, Ashley Eckstein, she also shared her enthusiasm for voicing Ahsoka again. That's Tales of the Jedi. That's coming out. And she was also asked about her relationship with sharing the character with Rosario Dawson. So I don't know if you want to go check out and see her thoughts on that. It's all on StarWarsNewsNet.com. Get excited for Tales of the Jedi. Get excited for Mandalorian. Get excited for Ahsoka, right? All right, we are going to throw it back to John as we are getting ready to do the next section. What's up, John?
All right, yeah, it's back. Ask the Resistance time.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
I don't know what midichlorians are, Anakin, and I never will. But thank you for asking. All right, James, we have some questions, and we're going to start with you.
Oh,
the pressure's on, man. This is big. This is Biggs. That was by accident. That came to that one. Will we see Biggs Darklighter meet up with the rebellion in Andor? So we're talking, I don't think they're getting Garrick Hagan and de-aging him if they couldn't de-age Hayden Christensen. So are we getting a new actor with a mustache to play Biggs Darklighter in Andor and hang with the rebellion? And that's from our friend Ryan Waara, one of our patrons.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
He's kind of a big deal.
Big deal.
Biggs, Andor, 5 years before. You know what? I'm gonna say no, and I think the reason is because although Biggs wasn't like a big character in the original, I think they would be too close to his timeline to recast him, kind of thing. And I think that, you know, a character like that could easily show up. I mean, they did that with Wedge and Hobby and stuff in like animation. Like they're like, introducing him a couple years before, you know, and you can do that in animation. But in a live action show like Andor, I can't imagine them recasting this character. So no real need to bring him in if they don't have to. He doesn't necessarily have to be part of the story. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they're going to avoid Biggs Darklighter.
All right. Ryan, let us know what you think and of your
question,
opinion and James' answer. So all of these 3 questions came from patrons. I just want to let everyone know that because we love our patrons and they keep the base electric bill paid. So thank you. Yeah. Lacey, this one's going to you. It's from Caroline Margolis. What's up, Caroline? Do you think that Vivien Lyra Blair will come back in a future series as a slightly older but still pre-A New Hope Leia?
Hey, Caroline. Thanks for your question. This is a good one. I think that we haven't seen the last of Vivien. I think she was a fabulous Leia. It would be a missed opportunity if they didn't keep moving forward with Vivien because she did such a great job. That I'm sure she's going to show up somewhere else. And especially if they do another season of Obi-Wan or something like that. Like, she was such a fan favorite, which we knew she would be being Leia, but just her as an actress was a big fan favorite that I really hope she comes back, and I think she will. And I could see her playing, you know, older. But although, take your time, Vivien. There's no rush to grow up. Take your time. But I could see her coming back to play an older Leia.
Yeah.
And people would accept it because she's played younger Leia.
Yeah.
All right. Last one here. Our buddy Mike Lovins. Thanks, buddy. Said, will Andor finally give us Bothans? So I'll grab this one. I'm going to say no. I know for some reason anything affiliated with the Death Star, which Rogue One was, you know, that was tossed around a lot. And I just think Bothans were sort of, I think Bothans, like, they weren't like this big, super connected species with the rebellion. I think they were just like, they were near the Death Star and they were right people at the right time to help them. And I think that was like sort of a one and done thing in that regard. I don't know that it's going to be this sort of big full circle thing that now they're going to like get them involved here. So I just, to me, it would just be done to just do it, but I don't get that connectivity that people make with Bothans and this stuff. So I'm saying no Bothans in Andor.
Can I jump in with something I've never thought of before until right now? What if Bothans is not a species, but just like a group of people, like a group of humans, like we call ourselves Bothans or something like that. And we're like watching the movie and they're like, many Bothans died. And everybody's like, we know who those people are. Like, you know, we know.
I feel like it's a creature.
I think it is too, but I'm saying because we've seen it in Legends, but I don't know if there's anything in canon that has said like we've never seen them, but maybe like a reference to what they are, and if it's said in anything canon that they are in fact an alien species like they were in Legends. But
how about that Twitter account that is it a Bothan? It's just them going through.
Yeah.
Taking screenshots of Star Wars stuff and they're like, is it a Bothan?
It's probably what we've all thought it was for a very long time. It just occurred to me that if they've never actually revealed it, what's to say it's not like, you know, like you were saying earlier, John, like Scientologists or something, you know what I mean? It's just like a name that they give this group of people. What's Saul's? The Partisans? You know what I mean? Like many partisans died to bring us this information. Everybody's like, what species is partisan? It's like, no, it's just, that's the name of the group, Bothans, you know?
There's
The
a
Bothans.
quote from Matt Martin from Lucasfilm Story Group on Wikipedia under the Bothans entry that says, "We are purposely trying not to show them to leave all possibilities for when that story gets told." And there was a character in Resistance based on the old EU design of Bothans, but they just took that design. Doesn't mean that was what that was. So they'll pop up somewhere.
Yeah.
I just don't think the Rogue One sort of can. I think there was some maybe misunderstanding with which Death Star and what the Bothans did and that stuff.
Sure.
So I'm saying no on that. But let us know what you think, Mike, and everyone who's been listening and watching. Let us know what you think about our answers on that and everything else we talked about on the show today, because we are approaching the end. So before we get to the end of the show, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has been watching us, whether you're a new viewer or longtime viewer, whether that's audio or video. Thank you very much. And a special thanks to all of our patrons at patreon.com/resistancebroadcast. We're in the think tank and we're thinking about the future of our Patreon. We're going to get some ideas churning, but we just want to say thank you to everybody who has been supporting us over there. We like to make content on there to show our appreciation for your support. If you'd like to support us, tiers start at just $2 per month. And again, that's patreon.com/resistancebroadcast. And we have a bunch of different tiers. And whichever tier you select, there's more perks, rewards, benefits, and content and stuff like that for you. A special shout out to our top two tiers, Generals and Spice Runners. Our Generals, our OG, our longest running patron, I think, Carmelo. Then we have John Reese, Jetta Rosewater, Paul Olson, Frank Grande, Darth Hurricane, John Charlton, Nick Kratz, Christian Morales, Brian Smith, Matt Chitty, Danny, Mike Ramori, Matt Heath, Chris White, Brendan McLaughlin, Count Pepto, Samuel Zilk, and Val Trichkoff. And our Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gellner, Ryan Waara, Dave Hornack, Micah Harrison, Thomas Hennessy, Andrew Staley, and Jeremy Myers. Thank you all for all of your support. Like James said before, make sure you go to StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey, writing and editing at StarWarsNewsNet.com, and I have a movie podcast where I talk about the good old flicks with my buddy Mike called Just Like the Movies, available on audio podcast apps. James?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, both at Myra Trunks.
Lacey?
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gillerin.
All right. Oh, and I think Light and Magic comes out tomorrow. If you haven't yet, I did a review on StarWarsNewsNet.com. One of my favorite documentaries ever, so I think everybody is going to enjoy it very much, and we'll probably talk about it here on the show in the coming weeks. So definitely check that out. And we'll be back Thursday. We're bringing back the Kessel Run, guys. But what are we going to talk about? So you'll find out soon. We'll see you Thursday morning with another episode right here on TRB. See you around, kids.